Hello guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video, I am going to explain the first chapter of class 11 CBSE physics, that is physical world. So in this chapter, we are going to study the basic of physics, that is we can say the introduction of physics, that is what do you mean by physics, what exactly physics is, and branches of physics, etc. So starting with the basic, that is what do you mean by physics, how we can define the physics. So physics is defined as it is the study of nature and natural phenomena. So have you ever wondered how this rainbow forms and why the sky is always blue and why do stars always twinkle in night? Why apple fall down from the tree? So there are the phenomena. These are the phenomena we came across in our day-to-day life. So the reason for such phenomenon can be explained by using science. The word science generally originates from the Latin word scientia, meaning to know. The scientia means to know. So always science has always some curiosity, what it is, what it may be. So it originates from the word scientia, that meaning to know. Science is a systematic attempt to understand natural phenomena in as much details and depth as possible. So in science, we always try to understand the concept as much in details and depth as possible. So science is always exploring, experimenting, and predicting from what we see around us in our day-to-day life. So this is exactly what science is. So as scientists research and try to explore the physics behind all the natural phenomena like this rainbows and twinkling of stars, so such kind of natural phenomena, they follow some process, and this process is called scientific methods. So always scientists research and they try to explore the physics behind all the natural phenomena, and they follow some process. That process is known as scientific methods. The scientific methods has 5 steps. The first one is systematic observations, controlled experiment, qualitative and quantitative reasoning, mathematical modeling, and last one is verification and falsification of the theory. So ultimately, a scientific theory to be acceptable, that theory must be verified by relevant observations and or experiments. So ultimately, if one scientific theory must be acceptable, then that scientific theory must be undergone through these 5 steps which are given here under the scientific methods. So let us see one by one. So first one is systematic observation. So systematic observation is the first step in scientific method. To understand this concept, let me explain with one of the famous example of Sir Isaac Newton. So we all are aware of the fact that Isaac Newton is discovered gravitational force or gravity. So initially, how did Isaac Newton know that there is a force called gravitational force? He nearly observed that the apple fell down from the tree to the ground. So this is his observation. So in this case, when Isaac Newton found out the gravitational force, he thoroughly observed the fact that apple always fell down from the tree to the ground. So this is his observation. So everything in science starts with a keen observation. So this is the systematic observation. For every theory in the science, there will be some observation. So the first step in scientific method is systematic observation. And moving on to the second point, that is controlled experiment, that is any scenario that you observed in the nature that could have happened by chance, or there may be a reason for that scenario. When we first saw something, didn't aware of the fact that there is a science behind it. So when Sir Isaac Newton found out the apple is falling down from the tree, that could have happened by chance, or there may be a reason for that scenario. So from the observation we cannot predict that it always happens in every case and every at every place. The science or reason behind every scenario can be obtained by doing controlled experiment. So every scientist must undergo some experiment to prove that their observation is true for every condition. So it is important to perform a series of experiments just to ensure that this phenomenon is keep happening in the same way in every time. So this science or reason behind every scenario can be obtained by doing controlled experiment. So this is about the controlled experiment. So third point in scientific method is qualitative and quantitative reasoning. So after doing the controlled experiment, it is also important that we also validate this entire experiment, whether the result is true or false. Or we need to validate the experiment with valid and invalid data. That is, we have to verify which part of the experiment do work and which part do not work. So we have to validate this experiment with valid and invalid data. So we have to check whether our experiment is true for every scenario. So next one is mathematical reasoning. So before going ahead with the theory of the experiment, it is very important to represent the experiment by mathematical modeling, which basically gives the visual representation how this theory actually works. So by viewing the mathematical model, it is very easy to understand the concept. So mathematical reasoning provides the visual representation that how this theory actually works. So last one is the verification and falsification of the theory. So after all doing all the four methods, then at last it is very important to verify the theory based on the previous four steps to make sure that this theory holds true universally. That is, for every object in all the places, whether the theory is true or false. So this is the conclusion for every scientist who undergoes scientific method, whether he need to prove that whether his theory is true or false based on all these five points. The next topic in this chapter is physics and technology. So now we know the basic idea of what is physics. So now we need to understand what is the relation between physics and technology. So the connection between physics and technology in the society can be seen in many examples. So such as the concept of thermodynamics, that you are going to study in coming chapters. This thermodynamics arises from the need to understand the improve of working on heat engine. So when the scientists understand the need of improve the working on heat engine, then the concept of thermodynamics arises. And similarly, the wireless communication technology that followed the discovery of the basic law of electricity. So this is thermodynamics is purely physics and heat engine is the technology, whereas wireless communication is the technology and law of electricity is purely physics. In this case, what happens? The physics give, in the first condition, the physics gives rise to the technology, whereas in the second condition, the technology gives rise to the physics. So what we can conclude here is at certain times, physics gives rise to the technology, whereas at other times, technology gives rise to the physics. So always there has been some relationship in between physics and technology. So there is always physics, there is a certain connection between physics and technology. So this is all about for this video, and I will continue the remaining concept in part 2 of this video. So stay tuned. Thank you.